in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current, but very, very relevant. And the topic is Mahatma Gandhi and Gram Swaraj. But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you that today the world is observing the International Day of Non-Violence. The International Day of Non-Violence is observed on 2nd October, the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi, leader of the Indian independence movement and pioneer of the philosophy and strategy of non-violence. According to General Assembly resolution of 15th June 2007, which established the commemoration, the International Day is an occasion to spread the message of non-violence through education and public awareness. The resolution reaffirms the universal relevance of the principle of non-violence and the desire to secure a culture of peace, tolerance, understanding, and non-violence. And today is 2nd October. And as we all know that today there is the Gandhi Jayanti. The future generation will never believe that great people like Mahatma Gandhi were ever born. It was said by world-famous scientist Albert Einstein. Gandhi Jayanti is celebrated on October 2nd every year to mark the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. It is observed across states and territories in India and is one of the officially declared national holidays. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi or Mahatma Gandhi was born on October 2nd, 1869 in Porbandar, Gujarat. This year will mark Gandhiji's 152nd birth anniversary. People honor Gandhi's contributions towards the Indian independence movement and his non-violent way of life. He led the Dandi Salt March in 1930. In 1942, he launched the Quit India movement. He was also instrumental in abolishing the age-old practice of untouchability. Mahatma Gandhi is alive through his philosophy, both at the national and international stage. On Gandhi Jayanti, the country renews its commitment to peace and harmony. India's freedom struggle was not merely a political movement, but also a call for social and cultural awakening. Time magazine named Mahatma Gandhi Person of the Year in 1930. Gandhiji was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 5 times, but never received the award. His fame spread worldwide during his lifetime and only increased more and more after his death. The name Mahatma Gandhi is now one of the most universally recognized on earth. And today, we are also celebrating the birth anniversary of Lal Bahadur Shastri. Lal Bahadur Shastri was born on 2nd October 1904. He was the second Prime Minister of India. He promoted the White Revolution, a national campaign to increase the production and supply of milk by supporting the Amul Milk Cooperative of Anand, Gujarat, and creating the National Dairy Development Board. Underlining the need to boost India's food production, he also promoted the Green Revolution in India in 1965. This led to an increase in food grain production, especially in Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. He led the country during the Indo-Pakistan War of 1965. His slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, hail to the soldier, hail to the farmer, became very popular during the war. The war formally ended with the Tashkent Agreement on 10th January 1966. He died on 11th January 1966 in Tashkent.
Got it, I think.
Dr. Shetty, please mute yourself. Sorry. He died on 11 January 1966 in Tashkent. He was posthumously awarded the Bharat Ratna. Media conference with Lal Goyal wishes you on this very auspicious day and hopes today's political leaders will follow the principle of these great leaders. And now coming on the main topic, Mahatma Gandhi and Gram Swaraj. Gram Swaraj is a special term coined by Mahatma Gandhi and later developed by Vinoba Bhave, which promotes the transformation of every village into a self-efficient, autonomous entity where all the systems and facilities for a dignified living are available. Swaraj signifies self-rule with a continuous effort towards independence and self-reliance. Gram Swaraj or village self-rule is decentralized, human-centric, and non-exploitative. It adheres to working towards a simple village economy and towards achieving self-sufficiency. Gram Swaraj, an idea of self-reliant village, is a unique concept of rural reconstruction proposed by Mahatma Gandhi much before India's independence that he developed over a period of times. His concept of Gram Swaraj is considered one of the alternative models of rural reconstruction, whose primary focus is on the holistic development of society where individuals are placed in the economic system's centers. However, Gram Swaraj is considered an ideal development approach, yet Indian planners and policymakers emphasized economic development over an individual's moral and ethical values after independence. On the other hand, with gaining more importance to sustainable development, the Gandhian concept of Gram Swaraj starts gaining importance as his approach gave importance to the human being overall development. The Gandhian's development approach primary target was village, as he considered that rebuilding of a nation depends on the reconstruction of rural areas. He, based on his experiences, introduced his economic ideas to reconstruct many rural areas of India. Among them, the experiment of rural reconstruction in Champaran in 1917, Sevagram in 1920, Wardha in 1938, and constructive programs were the prominent example of such initiative. Moreover, he directly introduced his rural reconstruction ideas and urged his followers and colleagues to focus on rural reconstruction. In one of his letters wrote on 13th November 1945 to first Prime Minister of Independent India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he suggested him mental, economic, political and moral development of each individual to have equal right and opportunity. He also asked him to focus on bridging the gap between rural-urban divide. The village, according to Gandhi, is an ideal place to live. A glimpse of his dream village is reflected in his different writings published in Harijan and Young India and some of the personal letters he wrote to different persons. In one such letter written to Munna Lal Shah on 4th April 1941, he depicted his ideal village idea. He dreamed of a village where everyone wears clothes made of own, used oil of indigenous oil presses, and eats oil produced by own. There would be 100% literate people in his dream village with having harmony among different communities, and there would be no untouchability, free from quarrels and thefts. Therefore, the ideal village, what he dreamed, would be an independent unit or a complete republic. Accordingly, Gandhiji considered that each village should be independent of its neighbors for its own vital wants and yet interdependent for many others, in which dependence is a necessity. Thus, every village's first concern will be to grow its own food crop and cotton for its clothes. Accordingly, his dream village was based on no caste and class, in which there are no vertical divisions, but only horizontal. No high, no low. All services has equal status and carries equal wages. Those who have more use their advantage not for themselves, but as a trust to serve others who have less. The motivating factor in the choice of vocations is not personal advancement, but self-expression and self-realization through the service of society. There are many components of Gandhian's ideal village. These include revenue generation, village sanitation, village industries, high status of women, etc. He considered that to be a complete republic, a village must have sources of revenue generation. So he said that any village can become such a republic today without much interference, even from the present government, whose sole effective connection with the village is the excavation of the village revenue. Village sanitation and village industries were integral part of Gandhi's dream village. Village sanitation is necessary as it's directly linked with individual mental and physical health. His understanding of village sanitation's importance is reflected in one of the letters he wrote to D.D. Joshi on 1st August 1946. In his letter, he mentioned that village sanitation, domestic cleanliness, personal hygiene, and healthcare have the first place and full scope, the underlying idea being that this done, there can be no disease. According to him, each one should be clean from externally and internally. The village of each individual should be free of dirt and dung and foul smells. So in his village reconstruction program, village sanitation gets a vital place. Accordingly, he urged the village workers to focus on village sanitation specifically. Therefore, he said, the village worker who is ignorant of village sanitation science, who is not a successful scavenger, cannot fit himself for village service. Village industries in the Gandhian ideal village find a vital place because only village industries could cater to unemployment in rural areas. These industries, which include soap making, match making, hand grinding, hand pounding, oil pressing, cattle farming, dairying, khadi, etc., are labor-driven with the involvement of less machinery. He considered that the urban-centric industries based on big machinery are the source of labor exploitation and only the profit source to their owner. Their objectives are not to solve the problems of unemployment. With the revival of village cottage and small-scale industry would lead to creating an employment for mass, leading to an increase in income of rural people. In Gandhian dream village, women got high status. He dreamt of a village where there will be the same respect for women as vouchsafed to men, and the chastity and purity of men and women will be jealously guarded. Where every woman except one's wife will be treated by men of all religions as mother, sister, or daughter according to her age. Therefore, Gandhi dreamt for a village where all the individuals will be free of all diseases, exercise their physical labor, have all connectivities and all necessities of life, such as clean water, food, clothes, sanitation, education, and the house, lead to self-reliance. He thus emphasized people's inclusion in decision-making, as decision-making only can make a village self-reliant and self-rule or true republic. There would be no exploitation and each individual will have equal rights and opportunities in the Gandhian's ideal village. And to discuss today's very, very important and relevant topic on a very, very auspicious day of Gandhi Jayanti, the topic Mahatma Gandhi and Gram Swaraj, we have a very elite chief guest with us, those who have authority, those who have experienced, and those who have seen both the eras, the Gandhi as well as pre-Gandhi era as well as post-Gandhi era. I would like to invite and introduce my first chief guest, and he is Dr. C.P. Habeeb Rahman. Dr. Rahman is an icon of unity. He is the chairman and medical director of Unity Health Complex, Mangalore. He is an ardent campaigner of peace and harmony. He had introduced hospitality in hospital segment much before anyone even thought about it. Dr. Habeeb had given a lot of importance for human relations, Peace and tranquility in the district and in the nation is always given a priority. He is a management philosopher, and his views about global peace initiatives are highly appreciated by international authors like Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Several of his early writings about economic and political failures are now reflected in the socio-economic situation in the country and world. Dr. Habeeb had visited Rashtrapati Bhavan in the year 2006 and had a long discussion with Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, our former president, about the mad rush of politicians for attaining and retaining power. He had suggested about educating politicians for self-realization as the only way for making Indian politics truthful and transparent. Political leaders should be exposed to higher learnings about human behavior. This can help them to discover themselves and the purpose of their existence in the world. This will only lead them to achieve peace within themselves. Country will become peaceful when leaders in the country achieve peace within themselves. Dr. Habeeb always compare planet Earth being a flight. It may collapse when the passengers go against peace in the flight. Welcome, Dr. Habeeb, on our show, Media Conference with Lal Goyal. Today is a very auspicious day at Gandhi Jayanti. And Dr. Habeeb, you have written so much about the rural development, about the how the leadership should follow the peace and harmony among the different communities and how to uplift the women. So we would like to know your views today on a very, very relevant and very important topic, that is Mahatma Gandhi and Gram Swaraj. Dr. C.P. Habeeb Rahman, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lal Goyal. The opportunity given to me a part of your program, I really appreciate it, though I don't consider myself as an authority on this subject. What you are doing is wonderful work for the last so many months or year, maybe picking up a subject of common interest to the public and highlighting to through your media. It's a very noble venture, and the people are getting educated out of this program, and as well as many people have a chance to express their thoughts, whatever they know about their experience and knowledge. The subject is a very interesting subject personally for me, because both the subjects, Mahatma Gandhi and Gram Swaraj, is not understood by many of us. Gandhi, our father of our nation, is almost forgotten. Now we see statues everywhere. When I go to London or New York and other places, Gandhi statues are well preserved and kept there for people, but hardly they reflect on the live Gandhi ones. What was the Gandhi's real spirit, not only to our country, India, but to the whole world as such. He's one of the few leaders you could find in this last century who has given something liberation of humanity from all bondages. So he fought for the freedom of the country, India, but also he fought for the liberation of human beings, particularly in enslaving themselves into poverty, etc. He is one of the greatest leaders of humanity in time long, we can say, not only the 20th century, but the past as well as the future, where anyone can reflect when you look for a leadership, what Gandhi has contributed to humanity and our country in particular. The subject also, Gram Swaraj, is something what is called village self-realization and management, is also a very novel concept. Because in this 21st century, when you are talking democracy, the real area where you can rule the country as such, a self-rule for a limited area is not talked about. Today, we talk about global village. I consider it as a misnomer. There is no such thing as a global village. Maybe more appropriate global city as such, you can say. Everybody wants to be urbanization now. We want more communication, transport, etc., like a city. So it can be called as a global cityization, something like that, but not a global village. A village has got an inherent beauty of nature given to mankind. And that is not happening. Now, what is more important is a local village, not a global village. A local village, which is very important. When you come from aircraft or something in the future as a spacecraft, go to moon and come back, travel can take place. When you come down to the earth from space, we can see the earth in two areas. One is water, another is land. The people who live in the planet earth are all in land, not in the water. But water is a part of the living purpose. Without water, you cannot live. But we live in the land, and through land, people find their existence. Land has got so many values. One of the basic thing in land, what they find is they get the food for them. If you want to eat and survive, you require food, carbohydrate, etc., all these things. You don't get in the water. There, water you get fish and other proteins, but the real carbohydrate, the food you require, you get from the land. So the first and foremost thing of human survival, what I call is economics, if it can be called economics, not my wording, it may be wrong because I am not an economist. It is the land use. The economics first is the land use. How you use your land. And that starts first from the farming. And later on, you can have all your other areas, whatever you think of human development, you said factories, universities, education centers, anything you want, you can have from the land. So land use is the primary things of a place for human survival. And you find the world population are located more in the land and particularly in Asia. You go to Europe and the West and all, the population minimized and to a small place. But in Asia, like China, India, Indonesia, Africa and all this area, you find the more population located in this area. Gandhian philosophy of Gram Swaraj or village is more relevant now than any other time. We are globalized to the 21st century with all the values of human rights. We call the Western democracy undoubtedly one of the greatest contribution to mankind. The democracy, the human rights, and the knowledge which we have got from the West, etc., is a great contribution. And the development in the last 200 years, West developed into one of the dominating force in the world. But thousands of years of history shows last 2,000 to 4,000 years, it is not the West which was dominating, it is the East, mainly India and China. China and India are the great culture of their own tradition and values for thousands of years. And that traditional culture still value though how best you try to absorb from the West the modern development. So the Gandhian philosophy of Swaraj is more relevant, and Gandhi as himself has got a great contribution to humanity as an individual person. My fascination for Gandhi as a personality was some of the things which I observed in him. There, one is, he wrote his biography as my experiment with truth. Nobody has written a biography like that, my experiment with truth. And where do experiments? Most of the experiments are done by scientists with the truth. You know, that every religious scripture say about truth. The Gita says, Satyam, the Bible says, truth is this thing, the Quran says, Haq. You find all this truth in various scriptures, but the followers do not follow the truth. The one who follow the truth are the scientists. They don't deviate, because without truth, they won't get the results. So what you find is, Gandhi wrote his biography, My Experiment with Truth. I was always thinking, why he wrote their biography, My Experiment with Truth? Because he was a scientific mind he had, how to find out the truth as a scientist. The other most important thing what we find in Gandhi is also what is called non-violence. When the West was invading in the Second World War, bombed Japan with nuclear bombs, our father of nation, Gandhiji, gave another bomb of counter, that is non-violence, and won the freedom for India. It is a world to awaken the two counter forces. One is violence, another is non-violence. It is another contribution Gandhi to the country and to the whole world. And the third quality I found in him was unconditional love for humanity and people. He is a born Gujarati, a Hindu, whatever it is there, but he loved the people of India. whether Hindus, Christians, Muslims, Jains, whichever community belongs, he loved them for unconditional love. Then also he practiced no hate. He never hated anybody as such. On the other hand, he loved them. And another important thing which I found in Gandhiji was his dress code. Now the people are tempted to have the best dress possible there. There's the tendency of the West. And also, luckily, India don't follow, our leaders don't follow that much of the Western culture. But still, Gandhi never wore a shirt. He was going as if he has no shirt as such in the whole world. In the British, he entered without a shirt. That is unique quality of one personality. And where there is no shirt, there is no pocket. So politician without any pocket. So, I mean, that is something unique qualities what we found in Gandhi compared to many other leaders. As he was trying to express about the village, Gandhi visualized along with the freedom also how India can be liberated, along with independence, also the liberation of poverty and backwardness, etc., through a village. That was his Gram Swaraj, where he thought of liberating the village, self-rule by their own people there. These are lofty concepts. As I was trying to communicate earlier, he said the economics of a region is something related to the work of the people there. The economy of the whole world is changing. Earlier, poverty was known as a menace to development. Today, population was a great liability. There was master planning and all earlier time we could see. Family planning was a big thing now. Of course, more people are a liability. But today, population is a gift because we find business is where people live. That is where Asia and India is flourishing. The West with this diminished population are really on the reverse gear, which they themselves do not know. The knowledge workers around the world are from India and China. You find all the educated people of the world, you can see who knows English and technology, are mainly from India and also now to some extent from China. So the next generation will be dominated by the East Asia, particularly China and India. Now, India has got a great role to play. One of the biggest way what we can develop our country and contribute to humanity is so some points. What I would like to summarize before my ending these points, there are about 7 points. What I feel, how a village can be liberated. Basic things you want in a village is about 7 things I find there. One is you require food. Basically, to live, you require food. You also require a shelter, a dwelling place where they can rest and sleep. Then you require a clothes to protect himself. You require a healthcare setup where you can go for any health problems, some area. Then you require education, that is for children to study. Then you require a job where you can work, employment. And finally, you require a pollution-free atmosphere to live. For this, what is happening is a self-Swaraj, or what we call as Gram Swaraj or village self-rule can come if you focus on all these areas. How best a village can develop. There has been a tendency for years and for even centuries to migrate to the cities. Now we must, what we call demigration, go back to the villages. And Largo is an example of that. He has come from cities, lived in cities, now he has come to a village, and there he is doing all this program. A typical example for anybody to follow. You've got a big farm in there in South Canada, enjoying all the things and doing all these social services. The migration to the village, demigration, not to cities, is a new trend we should try to follow. Because even earlier times, when you talk about all big hotels and all, or 5-star hotels, they are all found in big cities. Now, when you look to the good hotels, people go to villages like resorts. All the resorts in villages inside, not in the cities now. So there is a tendency also to demigrate back to villages, to have all those facilities, a pollution-free environment, good oxygen, education, children education, etc. All the things are made available in the village. Then you can have what Gandhi felt it, village self-rule or Gram Swaraj. I think it is very important for us to reflect because the majority of the world population live in the Asian continent, the Asian Africa continent. So unless the village is developed, the people cannot develop. So we have to focus on the villages development more than any other industrialization. If you think of the Western type of industrialization, that is no more valid now. Earlier, to transport and communication was very difficult. Today, transport and communication is very easy. Communication is instant. Anytime you can know the knowledge what is happening in the other part of the world. And within 16 to 20 hours, you can reach any part of the world. So the whole global world, not a village, global city has come together. So the old tendency doesn't prevail now. We have to think a new dimension, how a group of people living together in a small village can have first liberation of themselves for the better living. Then it can spread to other areas of in the country, then Asia continent, and global as a whole. I think on this very important day of Gandhi Jayanti, not only we, the people of India, but the population of the world should reflect on this great man who gave a foundation not only for the nation, but on the overall the humanity asset, how women can be not only one freedom from the other colony, but also liberation from their own poverty, etc. Thank you very much, Mr. Gaul, your opportunity given to me. I hope I have reflected some of the thoughts which may be relevant to this today's program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. C.P. Rahman. You have given a very, very descriptive thoughts of yours, how Mahatma Gandhi was not only important for India, but the entire world, and how he has changed and how he has countered the bombs which were started in the World War, and how with the non-violence he fought and he won the independence to India, and how his emphasis for the village, which has now become very relevant nowadays in the present scenario. So, Dr. Rahman, you have given all the details in a very, very precisely manner, and giving your thoughts, which are really very enlightening. I'm sure today's program, our viewers who are watching, has come to know, they have viewed, and they are viewing your views and the new dynamic views which you have given about Mahatma Gandhi, because we all know Mahatma Gandhi, but how many of us know the real philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, and how many we want to follow? You rightly said the statues are everywhere in the world, and rather I will say one step further, there people have more respect outside now than in our own country, where we have lots of questions on the integrity of Mahatma Gandhi, which the other countries are giving respect, and they feel that the one person who has changed the entire scenario, otherwise the world has become very, very difficult to live. Thank you very much, Dr. Rahman, for giving very, very nice your views, and I'm sure that our viewers are very enlightened with that. Thank you very much.